is section 1-8b, dividing rational numbers. Today our objective is to divide fractions. So we already know how to divide integers. If they have the same sign, the quotient is positive. So 16 divided by 2 is 8, and negative 16 divided by negative 2 is 8 also. If they have opposite signs, the quotient is negative. So negative 16 divided by positive 2 is negative 8, as well as 16 divided by negative 2 is also negative 8. So what do you think the difference is between this and dividing fractions? Well, you guessed it. The only difference is that we have fractions. When dividing fractions, you're trying to find out how many of one fraction are equal to another fraction. So I'm trying to figure out how many of one would fit into the other. So our steps to divide fractions. Step 1, change the divisor to the reciprocal of the fraction. In simple terms, flip the second one over. Step 2, change the operation to multiplication. Step 3, solve the problem. We're going to flip over the second number, multiply instead of divide, and then just multiply straight across. So let's look at our first example. 1/15 divided by 3/5. I'm going to flip the second fraction. So my 1/15 stays the same. My 3/5 becomes 5/3. And my division becomes multiplication. Now I just multiply. 1 times 5 is 5. 15 times 3 is 45. I know 5 goes into both of these, so I'm going to simplify. And this simplifies to 1/9. All done. So for 2/5 divided by 1/10, I'm going to flip the second one. So 2/5 stays the same. 1/10 becomes 10 over 1, and my division becomes multiplication. 2 times 10 is 20. 5 times 1 is 5. This is actually going to equal out to a whole number because 20 divided by 5 is 4. Now let's look at 1/2 divided by 1/4. My 1/2 stays the same. My 1/4 flips over, and my division becomes multiplication. 1 times 4 is 4. 2 times 1 is 2. And this, 4 divided by 2, is actually equal to 2. And negative 2/3 divided by negative 1/6. My negative 2/3 stays the same. Negative 1/6 flips over to negative 6 over 1. My division becomes multiplication. Negative 2 times negative 6 is positive 12. 3 times 1 is 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. We're going to determine how many 1½ ounce servings of cereal there are in the larger cereal box. If there are 19½ ounces, I take my 19½ and I divide it by the serving sizes I want, so divided by 1½. To divide these fractions, we're going to have to first change them into improper fractions. 19½ becomes 39 over 2, divided by 1½, which is 3 over 2. All right, we need to flip over the second and change the division to multiplication. So we will have 39 over 2 times 2 over 3, which will equal 78 over 6. I know that 6 goes into both of these. So 78 divided by 6 is 13. There are 13 servings in the big box. All right, when we're dividing with different signs, a negative divided by a positive, our answer is you guessed it, negative. Let's change these into improper fractions to start. Negative 3 and 5/6 becomes negative 23 over 6, divided by 2 and 1/3 becomes 7 over 3. Now I need to flip my second number and change the division to multiplication. We have 23 over 6 times 3 over 7. I'm going to multiply. Negative 23 times 3 makes negative 69. 6 times 7 is 42. I know that 3 is going to go into both of these. So I get negative 23 over 14. And there's my answer. Now it's your turn. Try these two. All right, for A, negative 3/4 stays the same. My division becomes times, and my 1/8 becomes an 8 over 1. I multiply straight across, and I get negative 24 over 4, which divides and gives me negative 6. For letter B, I need to change the 5 and 4/9 first into an improper fraction, which is going to be 49 over 9 divided by negative 7/10. So I'm going to flip my second fraction over and change my division to multiplication. All right. I know that 7 goes into 49, so I'm going to cross cancel. Divide both of these by 7, and I get 7 and a 1. 7 times negative 10 is negative 70. 9 times 1 is 9. My answer is negative 70 times 9, or negative 70 over 9. All right, a word problem. Denise takes her father's old bicycle to a shop to be restored. The shop owner charges Denise $205.20 for the work on the bicycle. The owner wants Denise to pay the bill in full in 4.5 months. What amount does Denise need to pay each month to settle the bill? And what will her payments be? All right, we are going to take our $205.20 and divide it by 4.5. This poses a new problem to us. We have a decimal divided by a fraction. We need to pick either decimals or fractions to be working with. I personally am going to work with decimals because I know that 4.5 as a decimal is 4.5, just right off the top of my head. So now we're going to long divide. 205.20 goes underneath, 4.5 goes outside. Remember our division rules for decimals. I move the decimal of the divisor, move the decimal of the dividend the same number of spots. 45 doesn't go into 20, but it does go into 205 4 times. And we get 180. Subtract, and I have 25 left over. I have a little more space here. Bring down my 2. How many times does 45 go into 252? I would say probably 5 times. All right, I'm going to have to borrow when I subtract here. So I'll get 4 there and a 12. So that's a 7 and a 2. Bring down my 0. 270. Let's try 6. Oh, look, it's equal to 270. Wonderful. So my answer is 45.6. But I need to use that answer to actually answer my problem. What amount does Denise pay each month? She is going to pay $45.60. There's our final answer. Your assignment is the multiplying and dividing fractions worksheet, and you will have a fractions quiz following this lesson.